Welcome to the captivating world of Youth Tales 18. That evening, as I sat in a cramped hotel room with Gary, I was struck by the unpredictable nature of life. A wave of anxiety washed over me, fueled by the fact that my husband Logan had been away in another city for several months. While I certainly missed him, it was more than just his physical absence that weighed heavily on my heart. It was his indifference and lack of engagement that gnawed at my spirit. Those solitary evenings were slowly draining my energy, leaving me feeling more isolated than ever. Little did I know that asking my stepson Gary to help me connect with his father would lead us to this intimate, albeit confining, hotel room. The small space, with its single bed, held an air of mystery, hinting at the unexpected events that were about to unfold. I invite you to join me as I recount every intricate detail from the beginning of this journey. I promise that the conclusion of this tale will exceed your wildest expectations. As I hurriedly checked my reflection in the mirror that morning, a mix of tension and anticipation coursed through me. Despite Logan's absence, I felt a spark of allure and vitality, a fleeting sense of confidence that began to wane as the day progressed. Meanwhile, Gary busied himself in the kitchen, finishing up his breakfast, unaware of the emotional storm brewing just beneath the surface. The atmosphere in the hotel room was thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Each moment felt charged with potential, as if the walls themselves were witnesses to the secrets we were about to uncover. My heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point in my life. As I prepared to step into the unknown, I realized that sometimes the most unexpected situations can lead to profound revelations about love, loyalty, and the complexities of human relationships. As I called out from behind, I reminded him that college was just around the corner at the end of summer, but he really needed to improve his driving skills. "Come on, take me to your dad," I urged. He turned to me with that familiar mischievous grin that always seemed to brighten his face. Gary was a great kid, full of quirky humor, but he could also be a bit of a troublemaker at times. "Sure, stepmom," he replied playfully, "but only if you promise to ask Dad for a better car for the summer." I responded with a firm nod, nudging him to get moving, my mind racing as I tried to focus on the task at hand. Little did I know, this journey was about to take an unexpected twist. After nearly 2 hours on the road, I found myself in the backseat, distracted by my phone while Gary belted out a bizarre tune from the radio, punctuating it with silly jokes that only he seemed to find funny. Just when I thought we were in for a smooth ride, the car suddenly emitted a terrible noise, a hissing sound followed by an abrupt silence. "What's going on?" I asked, struggling to maintain my calm demeanor. Gary, with a hint of resignation in his voice, murmured, "I think the car broke down," as he maneuvered the vehicle to the side of the road. Frustration bubbled within me, but I tried to keep it in check. Sitting there, the reality of our situation began to sink in. The road stretched out before us, seemingly endless, and the weight of the moment pressed down on my shoulders. I glanced at Gary, who was now staring out the window, his earlier humor replaced by a look of uncertainty. It was a stark reminder that sometimes the journey we embark on can lead us to unexpected challenges. As we sat in that quiet car, I realized that this was more than just a breakdown. It was a moment that would test our patience and resilience, and perhaps even bring us closer together in the face of adversity. There we were, stuck in the middle of nowhere, with hardly any phone signal and no one to help us. For 2 agonizing hours, we wrestled with the situation, reaching out to every technician we could think of, desperately trying to resolve the issue with that infernal device. Eventually, we had to confront the reality of our predicament. Our only choice was to find a hotel for the night. As Gary chatted with the receptionist, I stood behind him, simmering with frustration. I couldn't shake the thought that if Logan found out about this, he would absolutely lose it. Yet, in that moment of irritation, I felt a strange sense of insignificance, coupled with an inexplicable feeling that this night was destined to change everything. As we stepped into the hotel room and opened the door, my hopes were dashed. The space was cramped, barely allowing for a full turn, with just a single bed, a nightstand, and a dim, flickering overhead light that cast an eerie glow. The atmosphere was unsettling, and everything felt overwhelmingly bleak. I couldn't help but feel that this was not how the night was supposed to unfold. The anticipation of something significant happening was overshadowed by the reality of our surroundings, leaving me feeling trapped in a situation I never wanted to be in. Before this tale takes an unexpected twist, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what unfolds next. By the end of this journey, I hope to see your support in the comments and through those likes, as we navigate through the challenges ahead together. The ceiling felt uncomfortably low, and the air conditioning struggled to keep the heat at bay. The lone window provided a dismal view of the parking lot outside. "This is it," I muttered, disappointment weighing heavily in my tone. Just then, Gary stepped in behind me, chuckling softly. "What were you expecting? A 5-star hotel? We're only here for one night, so just relax," he teased, his playful tone and cheeky grin only adding to my frustration. Yet, beneath my irritation, I couldn't help but feel a flicker of something else stirred by his carefree attitude, even if I would never admit it. "This heat is unbearable," I sighed, my fingers brushing against the back of my neck. "I think I need a shower, or I might actually faint." Gary responded with a casual air, flinging himself onto the bed and lying back with a relaxed demeanor. "This is your domain, Carmen. Do whatever you need to feel at home." I took a moment to observe him, noting the way his lean, toned physique combined with a boyish charm that was undeniably captivating. I quickly shook off the thought, reminding myself that he was Logan's son, my stepson. With a firm slam, I shut the bathroom door behind me, trying to distance myself from the confusing emotions swirling within. The coolness of the tiles contrasted sharply with the heat outside, and I took a deep breath, attempting to clear my mind. The reality of our situation settled in, and I knew I had to focus on the night ahead, despite the unexpected feelings Gary stirred in me. For a brief moment, I found myself captivated by my reflection in the mirror. The heat had caused my hair to cling to my skin, yet despite the discomfort, I still looked presentable, still held onto that elusive spark. I turned on the shower, letting the water flow over me, hoping it would wash away the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. At 47, I reminded myself that Gary was no longer a child. He was 22, on the verge of embarking on his college journey. Here we were, confined to this small motel room for a few days, a situation that stirred a mix of unease and excitement within me, though I struggled to put those feelings into words. Logan's name danced through my mind, the one I yearned to surprise, the one I longed to be with. Yet, here I was, sharing this cramped space with his son, wrestling with my emotions. The steam from the shower filled the tiny bathroom, wrapping around me like a warm embrace, while my thoughts raced back to Gary. His infectious smile and easygoing nature sparked something unexpected within me. Standing there, beneath the soothing cascade of water, I felt a shift in my feelings, an awakening I couldn't fully understand. I couldn't quite grasp what this newfound spark might lead to, but I sensed that something significant was beginning to unfold. The warmth of the water contrasted with the complexity of my emotions, creating a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. As I stood there, I realized that this time spent with Gary was more than just a temporary arrangement. It was a chance to explore the depths of my feelings and the possibilities that lay ahead. Eventually, I decided to head down for dinner, hoping it would help clear my mind. I chose a simple, flowing outfit that was perfect for the warm evening, providing a sense of comfort as if I were trying to shake off an unusual tension. The hotel restaurant was modest yet welcoming, a fitting choice for such an intimate space. I ordered a light meal paired with a glass of wine, convinced it would help soothe my nerves. As the sun sank below the horizon, the streetlights outside the motel began to twinkle softly, creating a serene atmosphere. While sitting there, my thoughts inevitably wandered back to the room upstairs. I found myself wondering what Gary was doing at that very moment. With his restless energy and vibrant spirit, it seemed impossible that he could be enjoying himself cooped up in a small room. Yet, his casual demeanor, so effortless and carefree, was driving me to distraction in a way I struggled to express. The contrast between my anxious thoughts and his apparent ease was unsettling. After finishing my wine, I took one last look at my plate before making my way back upstairs. Each step felt intentional as I approached the door, and an eerie calm enveloped me. When I finally opened the door, the scene that greeted me left me momentarily at a loss for words, a mix of surprise and confusion washing over me as I took in the unexpected sight before me. Fresh from the shower, Gary lay sprawled on the bed, clad only in a robe that hung loosely around his slender, athletic frame. Water droplets clung to his damp hair, cascading over his forehead, while a playful grin danced on his lips, as if he were lost in a blissful reverie. My heart raced at the unexpected sight before me, and for a fleeting moment, I hesitated at the doorway, grappling with the whirlwind of emotions that surged within me. A strange blend of discomfort and intrigue washed over me as I stood there, unable to tear my gaze away from him. "What on earth are you doing?" "That's Logan's son," I scolded myself internally, yet my eyes betrayed me, drawn to the way his robe had slipped open. The sight stirred something warm and unsettling inside me, and the cramped quarters only heightened the tension. With no other bed in sight, I faced a choice: either curl up next to him or endure the night in a chair that felt utterly uninviting in the sweltering heat. Stepping cautiously into the room, I could hear Gary's steady breathing, a calming rhythm that contrasted sharply with the chaos swirling in my mind. I inhaled deeply, trying to regain my composure, but the turmoil within made clarity elusive. "All right, Carmen," I whispered to myself, "it's just one night, nothing more. This doesn't mean anything." What had started as a plan to surprise Logan had taken an unexpected turn, leaving me in a situation I never anticipated. I had to gather my thoughts and maintain my composure as I approached the bed, my gaze fixed on Gary. His innocent smile only added to the chaos swirling in my mind. I perched on the edge of the bed, contemplating how I would navigate the night amidst this emotional storm. The stillness enveloped me, and a soft sound pulled me from the brink of sleep. I barely opened my eyes, just enough to take in the room, and there was Gary, shifting on the bed, half asleep, running his fingers through his hair and scratching his head. I found myself entranced by the sight, fighting off fatigue while a wave of calm washed over me. As I lay there, I suddenly felt his gaze upon me, and my heart raced at the realization that he was watching. I attempted to keep a drowsy expression, remaining still, but inside, I was a whirlwind of emotions. Slowly, Gary began to loosen the belt of his robe, and as it slipped from his shoulders, I caught a glimpse of his toned physique. The subtle twitch of his muscles stirred something deep within me, and in that moment, I recognized two undeniable truths. I had lost control of the situation, and a part of me was reluctant to halt the unfolding events. Gary rummaged through the wardrobe for a pair of shorts, glancing back at me as I wrestled with my own thoughts. Each look he cast my way ignited a deeper longing within me, and I struggled to mask my feelings while succumbing to the intensity of the moment. After he slipped into his shorts, he chose not to return to bed but instead settled into the chair in the corner, leaving me to grapple with the tension that hung in the air between us. His unwavering gaze upon me was both disconcerting and stirred something deep within my soul. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to drift into slumber, but I wondered how long I could keep up this facade. Eventually, the weight of the moment became too heavy to ignore, and I sat up. When our eyes finally locked, I made sure my voice was steady as I confessed, "You make me so happy, Gary." The words hung in the air, and in that instant, I realized that everything was about to change. Gary's eyes flickered for a brief moment before he inhaled deeply and began to respond. "I don't know, Carmen," he said, his tone soft yet firm. "We've been sharing this space for quite some time now, especially since my dad has been away. The more we're together, the stronger my feelings grow for you. You might not see it, but there are times when I find it hard to conceal the deep affection I have for you." His admission felt almost dreamlike, and I was taken aback by the intensity of his words. Gary's gaze remained locked onto mine, filled with a sincerity that completely captivated me. In that moment, I could sense the depth of his emotions, and it ignited a fire within me that I hadn't anticipated. The connection we shared felt electric, and I knew that this was a turning point for both of us. As we sat there, the world around us faded, leaving just the two of us and the undeniable truth of what we felt. "I need to get up early to take the car in for repairs," he said, though the way he spoke hinted at a need to comfort himself. His gaze, however, remained unwavering, fixed on me with an intensity that made it impossible for me to look away. "Carmen," he continued, "I've never felt anything like this before." My heart raced as I moved closer, settling into the chair across from him, our eyes locking in a silent exchange that crackled with unspoken energy. We shared a moment of stillness, the air thick with anticipation, before I slightly parted my lips, my eyes never leaving his. "Gary," I said softly, my voice a mix of intrigue and challenge, "Are we on the same page here?" His gaze deepened, as if he wanted to savor this connection without the need for words. He didn't answer verbally, but the emotion swirling in his eyes spoke volumes, and in that instant, I understood that there was no going back for either of us. As I held his gaze, a wave of courage and desire surged within me, fueled by the uncertainty and excitement reflected in his expression. Taking a steadying breath, I spoke again, my voice firm yet gentle. "Gary," I murmured, drawing his full attention. "When I walked in, you were asleep, your robe slightly open, and I couldn't look away. It stirred something in me that I didn't expect. The emotions we share are inescapable, a truth we both recognize." As my words hung in the air, I took a deliberate step forward, rising to my full height. His eyes followed my every move, and I could feel his breath quicken in response. A thrill surged through me, electrifying the space between us. My fingers found the ribbon of my dress, and as I began to untie it, I noticed how his breath changed with each deliberate action. "I suppose," I whispered, my voice barely audible, "we need to find some balance, Gary." With careful precision, I unzipped the back of my dress, allowing the fabric to slide off my shoulders. The cool air enveloped my skin, heightening the fire that burned within me. His expression was a mixture of surprise and admiration, an undeniable attraction that pulled us closer together. The silence that enveloped us felt charged, as if our breaths were weaving an unspoken bond, our eyes locked in a silent conversation. I took another step nearer, my voice dropping even lower as I teased, "Let's see if we're truly on the same page, Gary." Gary's gaze remained fixed on me, a tempest of emotions swirling in his eyes. The tension between us was palpable, a mix of desire and uncertainty that crackled in the air. I could sense the storm brewing within him, a fierce intensity that mirrored my own feelings. In that moment, everything felt possible, and the world around us faded away, leaving just the two of us suspended in this charged atmosphere. In an instant, he shifted his attention solely to me, illuminating the room with a warm glow as he flicked on the light. The soft radiance enveloped us, and as he stepped forward to close the door, my heart raced. Time seemed to stretch, leaving just the two of us in that intimate space. With each step he took toward me, my breath quickened, and I could sense his desire to decipher my thoughts, all while being acutely aware of the unspoken connection that drew us together. As he approached, his hands found their way to my waist, and the warmth of his touch sent a thrilling jolt through me. Without a word, he leaned in, his eyes locked onto my lips, and I found myself unable to resist. Everything about this moment felt destined, as if the universe had conspired to bring us to this point. When our lips finally met, the tension that had built up within me dissipated, replaced by a gentle yet fervent kiss that spoke volumes of the emotions we had both kept hidden. My hands instinctively reached for his shoulders, feeling the strength and warmth radiating from him, erasing any remaining distance between us. Our breaths mingled, creating an atmosphere charged with the weight of unexpressed feelings. In that moment, the collision of his vibrant energy and the deep passion I had harbored for so long marked the dawn of something both thrilling and terrifying, a new chapter that promised to change everything. That night, the veil over our emotions was finally lifted, and I could no longer conceal what I felt for him. I sank back into the bed, my body exhausted yet my mind racing with thoughts. My breath was uneven as my foot grazed the fabric of my clothing on the floor, and I could feel Gary's intense gaze fixed on me, a calm strength emanating from his eyes. Moments later, he leaned down to pick up the garment, his fingers lightly brushing the spot where my foot had rested. That simple action ignited a fire within me, and for a fleeting second, I noticed a hint of uncertainty on his face, quickly replaced by a determined resolve. He tossed the clothing aside, and his hand found its way to the edge of the bed. With careful, deliberate movements, he crawled closer to me on the mattress, his expression a blend of eagerness and undeniable desire. As I lay on the opposite side, I could feel the heat radiating from him, my heart pounding and breath quickening as he leaned in. The distance between us shrank to almost nothing, and it felt as if we were teetering on the edge of something monumental. There was no retreating now. The emotions swirling inside me were a mix of exhilaration and a sweet kind of pain. I glanced up at the ceiling, momentarily distracted, but my gaze was soon drawn back to Gary. I was captivated by the way he brushed his hair back, revealing the depth of feeling in his eyes that mirrored my own. He was alive with excitement, a vibrant energy radiating from him that was impossible to ignore. In that moment, everything felt charged with possibility, and I knew we were both ready to embrace whatever came next. I could sense the joy radiating from him with every movement. His enthusiasm was almost tangible. He was breathless, and I found myself caught up in his excitement, even amidst our car troubles. "I'll never forget this," he whispered, his voice trembling as if each word carried the weight of a deep breath. His eyes were fixed on mine, but I could see the slight shake in his hands, his body tense and muscles coiled. Each gesture became more intentional, as if he were trying to capture a fleeting moment in time. "I absolutely don't want my father to sell the car anymore," she insisted, her voice firm. After sharing her thoughts, he let himself collapse beside me, closing his eyes in silence as he waited for his breath to steady. I felt exhausted, too drained to speak, my legs twitching uncontrollably, and I couldn't quite grasp how I had drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Gary arrived with the repaired car, announcing that we needed to pick up Logan and head into the city for his trip. A wave of sadness and confusion washed over me, yet an undeniable thrill bubbled beneath the surface. As I stole glances at Gary, I was captivated by his gaze and movements. Everything about him left a lasting impression on my thoughts. The complexity of the moment overwhelmed me, and I struggled to untangle the questions racing through my mind from the exhilaration of the experience. There was no doubt that this journey would become a pivotal moment in my life. If you've been with me up to this point, I can tell that my tale has captured your curiosity. So, keep your eyes peeled for the exciting adventures that lie ahead. I encourage you to hit that follow button to receive updates and notifications about my ongoing experiences. Your engagement means a lot, and I would love to hear your thoughts and insights on this journey. Sharing your perspective can add a whole new dimension to the story. As we continue this exploration together, I look forward to the conversations we can have. Your input is invaluable, and I can't wait to see how our shared experiences will unfold. Let's embark on this adventure side by side.